Okay, for class assignment 12, we are going to be creating a Microsoft Access database. So Microsoft Access is a personal database software. It's not multi-user, only one person can use it at a time. But other than that, it has a lot of the same features that a more robust database system would have. So before we get started, make sure that you come here to database.xlsx. This is an Excel file, and we're going to be using it to add some tables to our database in a minute. So go ahead and right-click on that one and save the file. Okay, and just make sure that you know where you saved it so that you can find it later. Okay, I had already saved it, but you shouldn't have that one. So next what we're going to do is we're going to open up Microsoft Access. Actually, I already have it open. Okay, and I'm going to close what I've got open here. Okay, and close. Sorry about that. Okay, and we're going to do File, New, and we're going to create a blank database. And here we can give the database a name. I'm going to call this, or we're just going to call it BCIS 1405 and create. Okay, so we're going to, I had already previously created it, but yours won't. So we create it. Now, it opens up here and we have a blank database. So it assumes that we want to create a table, which we do, and it has started up this table 1 for us. So we want to go ahead and start adding some fields, but I'm going to change the view. So up here we have our view. Right now it's in data sheet view, so that's where we would add data. But we need to create the table, so we need to go to design view. So we're going to click on design view. Now it says save as, so we need to give it a table name, and we're going to call this one charge rates. Now, don't put any spaces in there. Most databases don't work well with spaces, so we don't want to have any spaces in our table names or our field names. And so I just call it charge rates and say OK. So now it says charge rates here, and over here we have one table called charge rates. And we need to start adding the fields that are going to be in that table. So in this case, our first field is going to be position. So this is a table that's going to tell us the rate that we charge for our employees' time based on what their position is. So this first field is called position. Now the data type here is going to be short text. So short text is anything that's 255 characters or less. So we don't need, certainly don't need any more than that. And actually, if I come down here to the bottom of the screen on the field size, I can change it. We can set this to be a maximum of 30 characters. So it's going to be 30 characters. Down here, the other thing, it says indexed, yes, no duplicates. That's because it's going to be our primary key. If you see right here, there's a little key. Every table in Access or any relational database has to have a primary key. And the data in that primary key has to be unique for each record. It uniquely identifies the record, so there's no duplicates allowed. So that's all we need to do for that one. Then we're going to go to the next row here, and we're going to add our second field, which is the charge rate. Okay. This field is going to be currency because it's a dollar amount. So we're going to give it a value of currency. We don't need to worry about any of these other fields here right now. That's all we need. And actually, those are the only 2 fields that we need in this table. So it's a very small field. But if we had a larger table, you just keep going and adding more fields and make sure that you select the correct data type for each one. So now I'm going to switch back to my datasheet view by clicking here at the view. And it says you must first save the table. Do you want to save the table now? And I'm going to say yes. Because we changed the design, we have to save it. In Access, if you change the design of anything, you have to save it. But when you're adding data, it saves it automatically. So if you make changes, those changes are always saved. So just keep that in mind. So now from the assignment, we have the values that we're going to put in the table. So you can see, make sure that you type these exactly like they are here, because it has to match the data that's going to be in one of the tables we're going to upload in a minute. So the first one is Tech 1. I just type it in, tab over here, the amount's 25. The next row is Tech 2, and it's 35. Senior Tech, and again, make sure you put SR period space and capital T so that it matches, otherwise it won't work. And then we have a manager at $50, $75. And we have our president who clocks in at a whopping $150. Now you notice I'm just typing in the numbers, and because it's currency, it automatically added the dollar signs and the decimal points in there. So that's something nice that it's able to do. And voila, we have our very first table in our database called charge rates. So we could keep doing that for the other tables that we want in our database, but that's going to take a while to enter all that information. And it just so happens that we have that information in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to come over here to the tab called External Data. And it says Import and Link over here. And now your ribbon may look a little different, but it's going to be New Data Source from File and Excel. So we want to import an Excel spreadsheet. So here we're going to have to find where we save that file. And I don't know where it is on here, so I'm gonna find it here. I think it's under Libraries. There we go. Okay, so there's the file that I want to search. Make sure you know where yours is. It may be in your Downloads folder or something. Make sure that this first option is checked. Import the source data into a new table in the current database. And say OK. Now here, these are all the worksheets that are in that workbook, the Excel spreadsheet. So we have one for customers, employees, jobs, parts, and job details. And we're going to need to go through and import every single one of those into our database. So we're going to start with customers, and we're going to say Next. Now, very important that we check first row contains column headings. This will become our field names, is whatever's in that top row on the spreadsheet. I'm going to say Next. Okay. Now, I can go in and start making changes. Access evaluates the data and comes up with data types and whatnot. And so for the most part, it's pretty good. But here for customer ID, that is going to become our primary key for this table. Remember, we said we have to have a primary key that uniquely identifies every record. And in this table, it's customer ID. And so data type double means one that has decimal places. So we're going to change it to integer because we don't want any decimal places. It's just a number, an ID number. It says indexed, yes. But we're going to say no duplicates because it's our primary key. Then we're going to go to the next screen. And it says, let Access add a primary key. If we didn't have something in our data that uniquely identified it, Access would create what's called an auto number, where it just generates the next number to be the key for that record. But we already have the customer ID, so we're going to choose our own primary key and make sure it says customer ID here. Next, import to table customers, and finish. And then we just close. Okay. over here on the left, now you see we have the charge rates, but we also have customers. If I double click it, it opens up and you can see it already has a bunch of data in there for me. So that was much faster than having to create all those fields and then input all the data. So we're going to repeat that process for the other 4 tables. Okay. Okay, so we say, okay, this time we're going to not do customers, we want to do employees. Okay, next. First row contains column headings, that's good. Next. Our employee ID, again, is going to be our key, so we're going to change that from double to integer. Okay. Next. We're going to choose our own primary key, which is employee ID. Next. And we're going to import it to employees and finish. Okay. So that's 2 tables. Moving right along to the next one. Excel. Find our file. I wish it would remember it. Open. Okay. This time we're going to do jobs. Okay. So next. And contains column headings. Again, for the job number, we're going to change that from double to integer because that's going to be our primary key. But this table also has what we call foreign keys. And a foreign key is a field in one table that refers to the primary key in another table. So in this job, it's associated with the customer by this customer ID. So in order for us to match that up with our customers table, we need to click on the customer and we need to change it to an integer, because if one of them's an, oops, I didn't mean by integer. If one of them's an integer and one of them's a double, they won't match up, and that will cause us problems. And if I scroll over here a little further, where is it? Here we go. We also have employee ID, and the employee ID is a foreign key to the employee table. So once again, I'm going to change this to integer and finish and close. 2 more tables to go. New data source, from file, Excel. Find by file. Open. Okay. This time we're going to do the parts table. Okay. Column headings. Part number we're going to change to an integer. We're going to choose our own primary key, which is going to be the part number. Next. And finish. And close. And one more, our last file. You're going to get the hang of this by the time you do it 5 times, right? Say okay. This time we're going to do job details. First row contains headings. The job detail ID, again, is going to be an integer. But here again, we also have job no, which is the key to the jobs table that's related to this one. So we're going to change, oops, spazzed out there. Change that to an integer. And part no is the key to the parts table. So we're going to change that one to an integer. And then we're going to say finish. Oh, wait. I think I might have messed that one up. I think I said finish too soon. Let's see. Let's go here to the parts table. Okay. So this one you see. Oh, no. It worked okay. I was afraid I didn't pick the primary key, but I did. So, okay. So, there's our jobs. There's our job details. There's our employees. There's our, we already have our customers and our charge rates. So we now have a database with 5 tables, or 6 tables, sorry. 5 we imported and 1 we created. Now, once we've created a table, we can make changes to it. I'm going to click here on the jobs table, And for the jobs table, we're going to add, oh, this one is messed up. Look, it has an ID and a job number. Okay. So I need to fix that. So let me show you how you do that. So I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to go to the design view on the jobs table. Okay. And for the job number, I'm going to make that my primary key. And then this field that it created for me as the primary key, I am going to delete it. So I think I can right click and I can say delete rows, and it says, do you want to permanently delete it? I'm going to say yes. All right. So now I'm going to switch back to my datasheet view. So if you made a mistake, it's easy to fix it just like that. You have to change the primary key before you can delete the old primary key. So you want to save it? Yes. Okay. Let's make sure I didn't do any others wrong. I thought it was job details was the one. Oh yeah, I did the same thing on the job details. So we're going to do the same thing again. We go to design view. We click on job detail, make it our primary key. Click on this one. Right click and delete row. Yes. Now we go back to our datasheet view, save the table. Okay. So sorry about that. It's easy to make mistakes going too fast. I got carried away, but I think now that's all good. Customers, good. Okay. So back to the jobs table. I want to add another field on here that tells me whether or not the job has been paid, whether the customer paid. So I'm going to come here where it says click to add. And in this case, it's just a yes, no field that we want to add. Just either yes, they paid or no, they didn't pay. So I'm going to click this yes, no. Okay. And right now it's calling it field 1. I'm going to change that to paid, P-A-I-D. And so now it has this yes, no field, which just has a checkbox. So I'm going to go through here and just randomly check some of these. So you don't have to check all of them, just kind of randomly check a few. Okay. Because later on, when we write our queries, we're going to need some of these to be checked and some not checked. So it doesn't really matter how many you do, just make sure that you do have some checked and some not checked so that our query will work later on. All right. Now we're done with this assignment. Okay. So I am going to say file, and I'm just going to say close. Okay. And that closed my database and saved it. And then if you just go back to the assignment, here we go. Click on it and attach your database file. So it's going to be BCIS 1405.accdb. Make sure that's the file that you attach. So I would just click here. Okay. Scroll down. I'm going to browse my local files. And I don't know where it saved it. So BCIS 1405. Okay. I guess I have to go back to Access and see where it is. Okay. Okay, file. Okay, it's in my documents folder, bci.accdb. So, where desktop documents, BCIS 1405.accdb, and submit to get credit for this assignment.